The shocking reason. Black people have the highest high blood pressure, and it's not salt. Picture this. It's 1943 in an army base on the East Coast. A group of young black soldiers, barely in their 20s, are herded into a wooden barracks under the supervision of white military physicians. The room smells like damp uniforms, metal cots, and fear. One soldier wipes sweat from his forehead, thinking he's about to receive a routine physical. But the doctor closes the door, locks it, and pulls out a clipboard labeled Chemical Response Negro Unit. No one explains anything. No one asks consent. He watches as another soldier is stripped down, pushed into a sealed chamber, and left coughing under the sting of mustard gas the Army insisted was safe for testing. These were real experiments, documented by the National Archives and later exposed by NPR, where black soldiers were deliberately assigned to chemical chambers because researchers wanted to compare their skin, lungs, and cardiovascular response to white soldiers. Take the soldier Private Rollins Edwards from that time frame. He was one of the victims with burned skin from the gas chambers. That soldier, just like Private Edwards, survives, barely. But what the Army never told him was that mustard gas doesn't just burn skin. It scars lungs, damages nerves, and puts the heart under chronic strain. It triggers years, sometimes decades, of elevated stress responses, tight chests, short breath, pounding heartbeats. The kind of damage that guarantees blood pressure will rise long after the war is over. And years later, that same soldier returns home. But what he walks into is another war, one fought in hospitals, housing, workplaces, and the human body itself. For decades, America pushed a myth that black people have high blood pressure because of salt. Salt sensitivity, they called it. A theory no scientist can actually prove. A theory that conveniently ignored everything black people lived through, everything they breathed in, everything they endured so the country could keep its hands clean. But the real story begins much earlier. Scope News does a deep dive. Picture Alabama in the 1930s. Black men in Tuskegee agree to a health study thinking they're receiving treatment. The U.S. Public Health Service shakes their hands, smiles, and lies straight to their faces. Treatment is withheld. Their symptoms worsen. Their families watch them suffer. Their autopsies reveal heart damage, lung damage, cardiovascular destruction. Their medical lives were used as research material, never healing, only watching. The government documented it for 40 years, every part of it recorded and hidden under layers of bureaucracy until reporters exposed it in 1972. They didn't just sabotage those men's health, they helped create a generational trauma that made black communities fear hospitals, delay checkups, and avoid treatment for issues like hypertension. And long before America started calling hypertension a black disease, European scientists were already planting the seeds. Imagine Namibia in the early 1900s, during the Herero and Nama genocide. German racial scientist Eugen Fischer, whose writings later influenced Nazi ideology, forced Africans into concentration camps, stripped them, measured their skulls, examined their hearts, and took blood pressure readings to compare them with Europeans. He declared Africans biologically different. His findings were published, shipped overseas, and incorporated into early medical education in the United States. Doctors repeated this pseudoscience for decades, turning bias into curriculum and curriculum into standard care. By the time the 1940s rolled in, American physicians were studying black psychology and physiology with the same racist assumptions. By the time the 1940s rolled in, white military physicians were publishing papers claiming black soldiers had abnormal stress responses and unnatural cardiovascular reactions, not because science proved it, but because racist assumptions shaped how white doctors interpreted every heartbeat and blood pressure reading. Those lies shaped hospital policies from World War II through the Civil Rights Movement. It didn't matter how unscientific the claims were. America wanted them. Racist science justified racist healthcare. Meanwhile, the daily stress of Jim Crow was destroying black bodies in silence. Picture a black mother in 1950s Birmingham. She lives next to a highway because housing discrimination boxed her in. She works long hours for low pay because job discrimination hemmed her in. She prays her children come home safe because police power threatened her every day. The sound of trucks rattling her walls, the fear of an eviction notice, the dread of police sirens, her cortisol never shuts off. And cortisol, in chronic, relentless waves, raises blood pressure in ways salt never could. Her hospital options are even worse. In 1964, the U.S. Commission on Civil Rights documented that many black patients were placed in basement wards, denied life-saving cardiac treatment, or turned away entirely. In 1950, a young black veteran named Maltheus Avery crashed his car in North Carolina. He was sent to Duke Hospital, where segregated policy meant he could not be placed in a white bed. He was refused treatment, transferred again, and died in the ER minutes after arrival. His story ran through black newspapers as yet another warning. Even in an emergency, a black person's life could be lost to hospital segregation. His death is in the archives, and it wasn't rare. Black families told these same stories from Mississippi to Florida to Texas, stories of being rejected by hospitals and watching loved ones die because racism came before medicine. And it didn't stop there. During the Civil Rights era, the FBI's COINTELPRO program launched psychological warfare on black organizers. Surveillance, threats, intimidation, anonymous letters meant to induce paranoia. Medical researchers today have the evidence. Chronic stress of this kind raises cortisol, accelerates aging, and pushes blood pressure into dangerous ranges. The government's own records from the Church Committee prove it happened, and the fallout still lives inside black biology. Now take it to the 1980s. Hospitals are desegregated on paper, but discrimination still lives in the prescription pad. Studies published in the New England Journal of Medicine and the American Heart Association showed that black patients receive fewer blood pressure medications than white patients with the exact same numbers. Fewer interventions, fewer cardiac referrals, less aggressive treatment. And when treatment is delayed, hypertension becomes generational, passed down like trauma, not genetics. At the same time, environmental racism was tightening its grip. Redlining pushed black neighborhoods beside highways, factories, and polluted industrial zones. NIH studies would later confirm what black communities had been saying for decades. Toxic air, constant noise, and environmental stressors drive blood pressure up. And then came the cultural lie that blamed it all on salt. As if the seasoning on the chicken was deadlier than state violence, chemical testing, segregated hospitals, environmental toxins, or a racist medical system that undertreated black patients until their heart disease became statistics. By the 1990s and 2000s, researchers started noticing that even black children who hadn't lived enough life to accumulate bad habits, had higher resting blood pressure than children of other races. Not because of diet, but because their parents and grandparents lived through conditions that permanently altered the body's stress response. The science has a name for it now: weathering, epigenetic scar tissue, trauma written into DNA. And even today, studies show that doctors still believe black patients feel less pain. A racist belief embedded in medical textbooks as late as the 1990s. In 2016, a study from the University of Virginia revealed that white medical students still believed black patients had thicker skin or less sensitive nerve endings. That belief means delayed treatment, reduced pain medication, misdiagnosed hypertension. Mistreatment that keeps the crisis alive. So when America asks, why do black people have the highest blood pressure? The truth is not in the pantry, it's in the archives. It's in the experiments, the hospital rejections, the environmental traps, the structural stress, the discriminatory treatment plans, the government files stamped classified, and the daily survival instincts black people had to develop just to stay alive. The shocking reason black people have the highest high blood pressure is not salt. It's survival under warfare that was medical, environmental, psychological, military, and systemic. It was never seasoning, it was stress, forced, prolonged, inherited, and ignored. Scope News tells the truth. Here are the facts. Every case mentioned here is grounded in archival evidence. The World War II mustard gas experiments on black soldiers, the Tuskegee study documented by the U.S. Public Health Service, Eugen Fisher's racial blood pressure research in Namibia preserved in German colonial archives. Army Medical Studies, U.S. Civil Rights Commission reports on segregated hospitals, documented deaths like the case of the college student, FBI COINTELPRO stress tactics confirmed in declassified files, NIH reports on environmental racism, and medical studies revealing undertreatment of Black cardiac patients through the 1980s and 1990s. Legal disclaimer. This report is for educational, informational, and entertainment purposes. Viewer discretion is advised. While this story reflects documented history, limitations may exist due to restricted archives, medical licensing rights, or incomplete government disclosure. Always consult a licensed medical professional for diagnosis or treatment.